Morning, councillors. I declare the August meeting of Warren Shire Council, or the monthly meeting of Warren Shire Council, open. First, I'd like to propose our acknowledgement of the country, and that is that Warren Shire Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands within the Warren Shire and acknowledges the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who reside within this Shire. Council call for apologies and applications for leave of absence from councillors. Mr. General Manager has a number.
Mr Mayor, I've received apologies from Councillor Brewer, Walker and Taylor.
So I'm happy to move those apologies. Councillor Drews, Councillor McCloskey. Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 4 on our agenda is confirmation of the minutes of our ordinary meeting held on the 27th of July. Someone happy to move those minutes to the true and accurate record? Councillor Jackson, thank you. Second, Councillor Derrick. Councillor Jackson.
I commend them as being true and accurate reflection on them.
Thank you. Councillor, comments or questions regarding those minutes, the accuracy or otherwise of those minutes? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Disclosures of interest. Have we received any disclosures of interest in any matters in this month's business paper? Neil, thank you. Item 6, mirror minutes. There are no mirror minutes. Moving on to item 7, the reports of our committees, and the first of those being the meeting of the Sporting Facilities Committee, held on the 2nd of August. Someone happy to move the recommendation there regarding the Sporting Facilities meeting? Councillor Whiteley, you happy to move? Second, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Whiteley.
Yeah, the Sporting Facilities meeting was held. I reckon the minutes there are in front of you. Discussions included, but not was the Carter Oval precinct, the lighting at the Victoria Oval, and I recommend the minutes to council.
Thank you, Councillor White. Just to update Councillor Laws, we have had some concerns about the number of globes that are blowing on the lights at Victoria. And the Town Service Manager has been chasing up globes. They're becoming redundant technology. And I think we had a quote from Reese, who did the Carter Oval lights, for about 265 to move to 265k, that is, to move to LEDs. Post this meeting, my understanding is that the Town Services Manager has been able to locate 53.
At least 50 at about 5/8 the price that we were paying previously, which is even better. And a small, probably no chance, but only a very small chance that the 25 lights that are actually blown at the moment might get replaced before Saturday the 2nd, but only a small chance because they're still coming. Just in case if the day goes long on the 2nd.
If it goes that long, we're all in trouble. Mr. General Manager. But credit to the Town Service Manager being able to locate those, because it hasn't been an easy task. But it then gives us probably a time frame of a year or two anyway, at least, to move towards going where we need to go with LEDs. Councillor McCloskey.
In the list of those present at the meeting, I'm missing.
We're certainly there, Councillor McCloskey. We'll amend those minutes, certainly to include your presence. Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just wondering two things. First of all, there's an item that says Carter Oval Youth Sports Precinct Development Status Update. I was wondering if we could just have a brief update as to the progress of that precinct and when it might be expected to be operational. And secondly, I'm interested to know, have we made any progress towards finding funding for the very important item of shade sales I'm now waiting for?
And no for the last month. let's hope that we actually do have the chance even with the change of government in New South Wales, because most of it has been funded by New South Wales government funding, but we'll find out very soon over the next budget or so. It probably will be a December practical completion of most of the work at Carter Oval, not what we were hoping October, and they'll probably still be tidying up into January and February. So there's concrete works after the building, there's the car park to finish the building, and the cricket practice nets, the junior cricket pitch, all quotes closing or getting done right now for the particular concrete works, but certainly earliest December.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the sporting facilities meeting? Nothing further. Put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. The second of our reports of committees, that being the Public Arts Committee held on 7th of August. Councillor Jackson, you're happy to move that. Second. Councillor Bruce. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of items I would just comment on is the CBD photo wraps. The committee felt that there was too many with heads cut off or partially in a doorway, and they had to go back to the drawing board to design them possibly so they look a bit, more appealing. That has come back, and we've been given until 4 p.m. tomorrow to provide our final feedback. The one for Lions Park, I think, looks really good. There's still a little bit of, I think, either adjustment or perhaps a Q&A to be done about the CBD, because there's still people's faces cut in half and things like that. It possibly doesn't need to be like that, but I think that the finish line's in sight there. The other item is there was a little bit of concern about the pledge from the Horse Committee, and the amount of that pledge seemed to change because what was explained to us by Raymond at the meeting is that the Horse Committee had been approached by another organisation for financial support, and so they had sort of said, okay, well, we've got this money, so we'll give you some of that. I think it was the WAM, I'm pretty sure. And the rest of the mural, and Raymond was charged with that, go back and said, no, you actually made a commitment of that amount, and that's what we budgeted on. So Raymond was to have that conversation, haven't heard back yet how that actually rolled out, but that's just a minor thing that hopefully won't be a major problem. And that's just part of the pool of all the different organisations all trying to raise money concurrently, and people deciding on how are they going to split their support. So, but a commitment is a commitment, and so hopefully that won't be an issue. And that's really all that I have as an update.
Councillor Jackson, have you got any feedback from Sonorama about when the actual installation would take place? If you're happy with Lion Park, when does it happen? When potentially does it happen, and how long does it actually take?
Well, Raymond will need to advise the committee on that because he is dealing directly with Sonorama. As I said, at 4 p.m. tomorrow is the final. This is it, and I imagine production will then begin. But Raymond is the one with that information, and he will provide that to us shortly.
You don't imagine saying we believe potentially late September. September. Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the Public Arts Committee? Nothing further. Put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Third of our meetings, the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on 8th of August. Someone happy to move that those minutes be received and noted? Thank you, Councillor Bruce. Second, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Bruce.
Happy to move the recommendation when you said the General Manager or the Engineering Manager's chair of that meeting. Is there any comments on that?
Mr. Mayor, I just want a quiet meeting, so there was
the odd update is that they're not what it seemed to be. Yeah.
I've reminded the police sergeant of the major event that's just coming along, because we forgot about Saturday the 2nd of September. Could happen. Because do you think, could we have 2,000 people?
Oh, I would struggle. Half of it. Yeah, 1,000.
She's aware of the policing requirements, but probably we're more focused to the evening.
Absolutely. Yep. Any further on the local management committee? Any further, put that all those in favour? Yes. Carried. To the meeting of the votes committee held on that same day. Someone, Councillor White, happy to move the recommendation there. Someone second it, Councillor Kinsey. Thank you. Councillor Whiteley.
The interesting meeting was that informative. Divisional Manager Engineering Services presented his road safety plan, and we had some discussions about speed and accident causes. We talked about and discussed drop-offs and the way roads were built as far as what causes accidents. We talked about when possible doing some edge work which hasn't been done for years. We also went through the very extensive flood damage list and what's happening and when. And things are happening, and with the major consideration of how many staff we are lacking, and I'd invite the Divisional Manager Engineer Services to comment on anything related to that.
Anything you want to add to the roads committee meeting minutes?
Mr. Mayor, as mentioned by Councillor Whiteley, things happening in terms of the vacancies that we have. We're still trying to fill them. We identified some targets for road infrastructure manager position, and also assets technical office roads position, and we also identify a potential target for the assets manager position. So,
So Stephen Glenn is the interim road infrastructure manager. He concludes his temporary appointment in a couple of weeks. Is that correct?
In a couple of weeks.
And you're hoping to have someone to take his place eventually?
Yes.
Temporarily first, maybe, and then
Someone? Yep. Great. Yep. Excellent. The other question is I think the roads overseas has been absent for some in terms of holidays and planned leave, so we've been short-staffed because our main highest ranked grade operator has stepped in his role for a time, so councillors might understand we're just really under the pump in terms of staffing. I don't know if you wanted to enlighten any further on that, but it just takes one grade operator out.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we had our grader 2 operator acting as a roads overseer when the roads overseer was on holiday. So during that time we had to stand down one grader, and we only had 3 graders operating. And as you know, with our structure we have 3 in a crew. So if one goes on leave, then the whole group is uncovered. So we have to shuffle it. But we are still, just trying to deliver despite all that intended to give us capacity.
Thank you. So Councillor Costa, I think had a question, then Councillor Bruce.
Just in light of the staffing issues, and I can understand the problems in terms of trying to go about operational procedures, works and that, are we still not having any success in getting those coal-faced people on the ground and on plant, in plant?
Well, we'll soon find out from 2 weeks of radio advertising works.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've noticed it on the radio.
We had a bit more interest.
Yep.
So there's 3 or 4 operational positions, apart from water and sewer, which is talking, say, roads operational positions. The overseers have been prioritising getting some tar patching done. The second tar patching truck has been getting a fair amount of work out too. And we get those 3 or 4 positions and the road crews will be going full ahead, but not at the moment.
Councillor Cruz.
Just through there, just a question, with the new signs or renewing the signs on the intersection of the highway at Nevertire, who put those up? Is it the Shire did that?
Mr. Mayor, that went through the committee on transport.
Okay, it's just a comment, coming over the railway line from Tottenham side, the sign there on the left at the intersection, it's right where you look down the highway. The height of it, you can't see. In our Prado, it was right in our vision, which is, yeah, you can't see. It's right there.
Mr. Mayor, is bus coming from Tottenham?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If it can be looked at, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you. I mean, we just need to know those sort of practical things that when you pull up and you put a sign in place that may not be actually, it may be. Anyway, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Councillor White has it.
Councillor McCloskey brought up a list of signage on the highway. I can recall him that I saw the guys fixing them yesterday.
At the railway crossing?
The airport one.
The airport?
Yeah. No, I think it's good to have our signs up, and there's nothing worse than the signs that are missing in this town. Doesn't look great. Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the road committee meetings? Nothing further. Put that all those in favour. Yes, carried. Moving on to the plan committee again. Tuesday, the 8th of August. Councillor, happy to move the recommendation coming out of the plan committee, particularly pertaining to the supply and delivery of the roll, 2 rollers. Thank you, Councillor White, for your moving. Second to Councillor McCloskey. Councillor White.
I'm happy to move the recommendation that the plan committee offer for anyone to comment. The main or the largest item on the plan committee discussion was the purchase of or the recommendation to purchase 2 rubber-tired rollers, which very detailed tenders, and the plan committee was recommended to council one option. The other thing under discussion was a report on the Mount Foster Quarry update and where that's at, and there's a contract being drawn up and to be facilitated and back from the people that want to hire the quarry. Flexible working hour for our plant operators has been agreed to, and I'd like, if the general manager wishes to comment on that, we know, or asking him. And as well as that, there was a detailed report from the manager, finance manager, administration and finance manager on the plant performance, and back down to a very detailed, very detailed in every piece of the plan. And some of these stuck out as weren't being utilised on paper, weren't being utilised and weren't as a profit. And there was discussion about how, as a council, we only see the paper version, and it's imperative that operators book their plant out so that we get an idea of what plant is performing well, is not costing us an arm and leg in repairs and maintenance, and that our hire figures are appropriate for that piece of plant, and possibly Divisional Manager of Engineering Services might like to comment on that.
Mr. Mayor, we are actively working on that. I have the supervisors and managers checking that plans are booked up on time sheets, and I'm also actively doing some projects.
Thank you. Yeah, that's, if you can't measure it, you can't. It's difficult to make informed decisions, council-wise. So thank you for doing that. Councillor Jackson.
I think it's there. Just wondering in regards to that type of thing, is what you're doing implementing a new procedure to make sure that going forward this happens, or is this just band-aiding an existing problem, and then it'll just revert back to what it was?
It's been a problem for 100 years. Always has been. I actually used to put stickers, please book your plant hours out on your timesheet, stickers on every windscreen and in every plant item 35 years ago for the same thing. Spot auditing, there's been a reasonable positive attitude change, because a couple of the overseers saw it in the plant committee, and they're passing it out to say, guys, book your plant out much more than you should. But you go up and down, Councillor Jackson, with that type of thing. The timesheet is a pretty complicated document, and the first priority is to get the costings right of your labour. Second is your plant, and we're just having to make sure that the plant becomes close to our first priority.
Is that a yes or a no? Sorry, because you're saying yes, it's always been a problem.
It goes up and down. It goes up and down, and it's going for the last 100 years, and we're trying to make sure that everyone books their plant out on their time sheet as much as possible.
So is there any value in exploring actually a system change to review the process and say, well, how can we actually make it easier for frontline staff to comply with these requirements? You talked about a complicated form. Yep. Is there any way that the process can be simplified? I'm just asking, can you internally look at your systems and processes so that it actually will be more effective than it has been for the last 35 years? That's all I'm just flagging that.
If the divisional manager of finance is facing to talk electronically, good luck. because paper, we have trouble with paper, let alone electronically. So we are attempting, we have systems where from overseer to manager to divisional manager need to make sure that things are being booked out on the timesheet, which at the moment are paper timesheets, and we have trouble with paper, let alone electronic. And it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to actually set up electronic things that a lot of our staff may not be able to operate properly. Other things where you can't get the key out until you book it out is even more complicated. We are over 11,000 square kilometres. It's not just everything out of the depot. It is a complicated thing that people who are supervisors and managers just to have to manage as much as possible. And sure, Councillor McCloskey had the same trouble for the last 40 years of his working life.
I might add a comment on this, Matt. As complicated as the general manager's said it is, it's probably the most simplistic system of operation for the men to fill out. To make it any simpler, I don't think you can. It's just a matter, as the general manager explained, the onus be on the frontline staff in the first instance to book their plan out, and then that be checked as it goes up the line to the point of the pay part. So I don't believe the system can be made any simpler. As complicated as it might be.
The guys are all working together.
Yeah.
For example, some of the planned items that don't seem to be booked out as much as possible are the typical like backhoes that are sitting in the depot.
Yep.
And they're setting up, making sure that the guys are actually doing some sort of form that's in the plan. You do have others that are being booked out as much as you expect. A good example is that the senior grader operators cap grader did do 2,000 costed hours in the year because it was the one that actually was working all the time in the floods. Most of the graders, for example, and the big trucks are getting booked out properly because they're just so used to it. It's all this little minor
It's
stuff.
all the
But it
minor
adds
stuff.
up.
Yeah.
The desired result still has been a good result. But we need, for example, income over expenditure is better than what we hoped. But if you start looking at some individual items, they should have been and could have been booked out at much more. See, the fourth layer is the payroll clerk, who's trying her hardest as well to say, how did he get out to the job? Why is the tender truck missing? So that's the fourth or fifth layer of trying to do things as well. And it's just a continuous reminder, which is
Ongoing
happening.
process.
But the version of like some of these other councils where it's electronic is so far away, it's not funny in Warren Shire because of, we can't even get,
Yeah. Councillor Kinsey, sorry, Councillor Kinsey had it first and then, sorry, you want to add something? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I think it's going to be pretty well discussed, what I'm going to say quick, but I think a classic example is the fuel trailer. So we get dragged out to the site, does its thing, comes back when it's all over, doesn't get any credit for it. How do you get the fuel trailer credit for being out there delivering fuel? And it's as simple as that. Unless it's on a piece of paper somewhere that it's happened. The fuel trailer's a bloody waste of space.
Division Main Engineering Service.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just to add on what the general manager said on Councillor Jackson's question, yes, we are improving the system. As the general manager mentioned, there's a new system for booking out common clients like backhaul and loader. No, in the past they've been just going and picking it up and using it without any accountability. But now there's a form that they have to fill in before they take the key from the store. So that's a new system.
Thank you. And you had some point about the manager, Vice Administration?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr. Mayor, key item that I've sort of put forward at the time as well was making people aware of the difference in how we capture the income from plant, where it's most important to capture it from. So there's funds available that are grant funded, external sourced, it's not council's own money. So that is literally more important. We need to make sure that happens. Because that's money in the bank that goes towards the plant items, whereas if it's our own internal, we're just taking it from here and putting it there, so to speak. But yeah, I agree, there's obviously a bit more attention going to the area now, and the only draw card I can have is one example, the regional council I was working at previously. The bigger part of the improvement that they had was on the Monday morning process. They had all of their staff come in, they had all their time sheets, they'd sit there as a little group, and they'd go through and make sure that job numbers were on. Somebody with a bit of decent in-house knowledge, the overseer or whoever would sit there and go, yeah, there's plant this in here, whack this in, do this, do that. Get it as good as you can before it even gets to payroll. So that level of quality assurance or checking, that's what kind of makes the difference.
Thank you. Councillor Whiteley?
Yeah, I think there's the internal accounting and what Brad just said is very, very important. But from the plant committee, we need to know where our dogs are, what plant, the R&M on plant that is costing a fortune, and that needs to come a little bit more to the plant committee. We have persisted in the past with a couple of pieces of plant that we probably should have got rid of earlier. They've gone now. The plant committee needs to see what the R&M over the normal expenses that you would have, your fuel and oils and such.
Councillor, I wonder whether, as chair of that committee, you might, no, you're not, you're acting chair, Councillor McCloskey, chair of that committee.
No,
Yeah,
I was just going to make a,
yes.
Councillor Councillor Brewer, yes, he's the chair of that, he was present that day. So he would chair this meeting. But it's got Councillor White, who's the chair of the committee.
Thank you for noting that. We'll just get that tidied up in the, as part of the, recommendation to council. Just a question to Clayton. Can you just explain the philosophy of the retired rollers, just so other councillors are aware of it? We're retiring one roller, is that correct? Keeping one and two new ones?
Yeah, we've been hiring a roller for a certain amount of money, and we're retiring one and buying two.
And that's all falls within the plant committee's budget?
Yes.
So what the recommendations there are saying this morning is that we're actually kind of keeping the better of the two rubber-tied rolls that we're going to get rid of for a while, as the rubber-tied roller is going to a spare crew until we run out of flood damage work. There'll be a bit more of an investigation to make sure, but it's the oldest of the Caterpillar CW34s. It's in reasonable condition. The other one's gone. It's gone. We've voluntarily got rid of that. And instead of we're paying ourselves instead of paying someone else eventually, when we can actually get someone to drive the machine, operate the machine.
Thank you. That was just so council's aware of what the thinking is. Councillor McCloskey.
Off the top, hours on that machine? How many hours on the machine?
Mr. Mayor, I can't tell you this time.
We might just,
That's just out of interest.
yeah. We'll get some accurate information. There's no point saying something that's not accurate. So, councillor, is there any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the plant committee meeting? Just noting that Councillor Brewer was present and chair of that meeting. Nothing further. We'll put that. All those in favour? Yes, carried. Further committee meeting on that very same day, in the Shire Racecourse Committee. Councillor Gersh, you happy to move? Second, Councillor McCloskey. Councillor Gersh.
As I wasn't there, I'll defer over to the acting chair, Councillor Whiteley, for that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bruce. I must apologise that I wasn't there for the entire meeting, but as per normal, the Showground Racecourse Committee with all the different entities down there, the meeting was interesting. There was a couple of things that jumped to mind. The new toilet block is progressing. I saw some photos of the slab, and it's probably progressed a little bit more to this date. There was some discussions over the PA system and the remote access to the PA system, and I think I think our town services engineer is investigating some Bluetooth or radio options with PA system, Wi-Fi. General discussions over the fencing for the keeping the kangaroos away from the racetrack, and there's a to and froing with the Racing New South Wales about the amount of money and where the fence would be situated. It's our strong belief that the fence should be on the existing boundary line. Racing New South Wales have come up with this plan that it should be 10 to 15 metres feet outside the actual running track, which defies a little logic in some people's minds. That is also in the process. There was favourable comments about the lounge and all the access points and doors and the Calvin Pavilion lounge. And I call on the GM to comment any further. It's slip one on.
Mayor, there is a thought of Warren considering putting in a submission to try to win the national polocross national titles for 2028, called Warren 2028. That idea has come from community, and the main man, Mr. Phil Woodford, and he will be asked to, if council resolves so, to do his presentation on what could happen, how it needs to happen, etc., to see whether it's worthwhile and whether it's practically possible, which is an interesting one. It's in Chinchilla in 2024.
So is it biannual or when, how long does it occur?
Every 2 years.
Every sorry?
2 years.
Yeah,
So Chinchilla next year, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I don't know that they know where it's going to be, from my understanding, in talking to Phil, where it's going to be in 26.
Yeah.
But Warren put a bid in for 28. Potentially.
The discussion ended with the advice was that these things have to be driven by the group with help from us. It can't be just driven by council, and I think that was taken on board. We've experienced the major events we've had here before. It takes a whole community involvement, and that needs to be led from the bottom, not the top.
The only point I would make is, I think the New South Wales State Polocross Championships were held here a number of years ago, and I can't tell you which year, and 8 fields were required at that time, and to their credit, the polocross people got all that sorted. So it'd be interesting to know what the requirements will be and whether that's a possibility. A national championship might need more fields.
I understand it goes for a week.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So yeah, I think, again, through this, listen to Phil, just in general conversation, that be it field, but there's probably will be requirements for some other form of infrastructure to be provided. But you know, he can outline whatever that might be when he's asked to present at a future meeting.
Yeah. So he's going to, sorry, Councillor, you're going to present to the Showground Race Course.
It was resolved to ask him to attend a future meeting and pitch his idea proposal to the committee.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing, I believe, with the local mining polocross group, to see whether they get behind them too.
Which I think would be not only the polocross community in this area would have to be behind him to running a massive event like that. It can't just fill on his own.
Thank you, all vote with interest. A question just regarding the, you alluded to Councillor Whiteley, the centre arena, microphone speakers. When we say the centre arena, we mean the centre of the racecourse, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's a difficulty out there.
Yeah,
Out the rodeo ground.
technically, in the polycross area and the rodeo area, there was some difficulties in some of the wiring to those points. It's not there anymore, and Wi-Fi or back to the main box. The process has been investigated.
Because we've spent a lot of money on equipment out there, so my view is that part of it should be pretty good. It seems to be a transmission issue.
It's a transmission issue.
Okay.
We're really working on it as speakers go, they become Wi-Fi speakers.
Okay.
Which we've confirmed with Racing New South Wales, they actually have no problem with. That's how they're actually recommending nowadays for everyone to be doing it.
Yeah, I think there's been some communication issues between some parties and Racing New South Wales.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the Shire Racecourse Committee meeting? Thank you. Put that all those in favour. Against? Carried. We on the minutes of the Mannix meeting held on the 15th of August. Someone have to move those minutes, please. Councillor Jackson, thank you. Second, Councillor Derrick. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, May, quickly. I just wanted sort of a comment or question, however you take it. It seems to me that there's some of the ills that we see in council from an operational perspective. There are gaps, there are organisational capability gaps, so in particular in people or business process. I just note a comment here, it says, there's a proposal to initiate a general manager's recognition of staff who uphold council's ethics. And the next point is, update council's website to ensure information re ethics and values can be found. So straight away there, that whole piece is obviously not in the day-to-day. So I'm saying that I think there's some work to be done, particularly in the people side, possibly business practices, knowledge and all of that sort of thing, practical operational matters. We have very many dedicated and knowledgeable people, but that's a gap. And I wonder if council, when looking at the organisation, whether there's an appetite to either engage a suitably skilled person or utilise people with current appropriate skill sets to maybe look at some of these aspects, culture, tacit knowledge, expectations of staff, their needs. Because every time you hear something, scuttlebutt, it may well be, that employee's performance is not meeting KPIs. But we shouldn't be hearing that scuttlebutt, because there should be effective ways of actually working with employees to help them to meet their KPIs, for example. So obviously as councillors, we're not involved in the operational aspects, and nor should we be. I just wanted to flag it as, would that be something that council leadership team would consider looking at, and even perhaps providing development opportunities for their own leadership teams and direct reports, team leaders, whatnot, to develop their people skills as well, their leadership skills in particular.
Oh, what page are we looking at in the minutes, Councillor?
It's page 2.
Thank you.
Of the minutes.
So,
and it's 4.1.3 was the example that I gave.
I understand we're actually progressing a number of things. We've actually had a workplace wellbeing, workplace wellbeing survey, which the senior management team will start to work through for some to see areas of improvement. The second part, and so the results of that, I can actually say, were better than expected. But there's still some areas for improvement. We've gone and done some bullying and harassment training of the majority of the staff that work for us. I think it's only out of the 80 staff, or say 70 full-time staff, most of them have gone and done. What the situation? So those 3 dot points that you're looking at, all that was the first dot point is a bit of a half a joke, mostly about my writing. The first dot point, my writing.
Sure.
Right. The girl, couple of ladies who have to put up with my writing. The recognition of staff has been considered many times over the time, and several times and is going to be considered again by the senior management team. But the problem that's happened in the last 30 or 40 years is that no one wants to put submissions in to be able for recognition of staff. One of the difficulties with a small organisation of 80 full-time equivalent. And the website information, what we're talking about was ethics and values, is the values of Warren Shire Council is contained in every document of all our integrated planning and reporting, and eventually we're going to have that our values on the front, at our front and at our depot, and the ethics are actually our business ethics that are contained within the contract system of our procurement area. We just had to point out to the manager of where that information was. And then there is a 4th area where we're actually going to be doing some more work on the staff to see what areas of cultural improvement are required.
Thank you for that. Councillor Jackson, yes, please.
Just briefly, thank you, General Manager, for that update. That's heartening to hear. I just would like to say again, it's not just about implementing a program, it's about the effectiveness of that program. How you can have bullying and harassment training. Was it a good program? Was it delivered effectively? Does the person who has responsibility for that function, do they have the skill set to do the work that's required in this situation? All those things, I'd just like the comfort to know that all of that is being monitored, and that perhaps, you know, there's value in having another set of eyes of some kind come and look at the culture and the people processes in the organisation. So I don't know how much.
So the trainer for the bullying and harassment came actually from State Cover, which is our workers' compensation organisation, and is an expert at providing that type of training.
Sure, I'm not asking you to explain your operational processes, because that's not what I'm just wanting to know. Is that we need to be cognizant that we need to know what we're doing is effective, and that everyone in the organisation is equipped to do their roles, and particularly in people and business practice capabilities, because every time something comes up, I see that's where the gap is. That's all. I just want to flag. As a councillor, you know, I'm concerned that we need to possibly put a bit more effort or energy into that, and perhaps try to listen to people who know what they're talking about. And we can't know everything. Nobody can know everything. And most people in council are employed because they have specific skill sets. They may not be broad. They may be, they may not be. It depends on the particular individual in the role. But just to be aware of that, that could be part of what drives issues like council not being an employee of choice, for example.
Thanks, Councillor. Yes, I'm pleased that you qualified the commencement of your advice then, that some of the scuttlebutt button might actually be coming from people who might be need to improve their performance. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Any further comments or questions regarding the minutes of the next meeting? Do you want to comment on how you're going with the funds in terms of the HREs and how that's working? Councillor, I might refer to the Division of Engineering Services just for quick update. We see all the AEGRNs, the flood funding, just an update on how that's all over the place and some being rolled over and we're getting some packets of money, et cetera, et cetera. Do you mind just a quick summary of that, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. AGRN 960, the works are ongoing. We made a package one application for AGRN 1034, which is still being assessed. I had a word with the Transport Minister this week, and they came back with some comments that we are working on. So hopefully, if we can return those comments, answers to those comments this week, they say that we might have approval for that package next week probably. So that package includes the works on AGRN 1034 IW, that's immediate reconstruction work. That was the Polite Trangi, Utawala, Matagai, Karika Road, and Wambiana Road. So, as you know, the time lapsed for that particular package, and we commuted all the works, all the remaining works onto that package one that was submitted. So, hopefully, we get approval for that so that we can continue with those 5 roads.
Thank you.
And sorry, just a clarification, Commissioner Manager, is it pretty close that it's actually, say, 4.4 million plus the 2.3 million, or is it most of the 2.3 million contained within the 4.4?
Most of the 2.3 million is contained within the 4.4.
So then there's another package on top of that.
Yeah, there'll be package coming on top of it. Yeah, that's mostly unseen roads and other seen roads.
Hopefully that is kicked off in the next week or so, then that first.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes.
And top of page 4, Mr. Mayor, we are getting a little bit of requests for information for that emergency levy operations claim. We've got 2 out there. We've got 174 from November 21 and 750, almost 758 from, call it June, July, August, September, October, November, December 22. They, typical government departments, state government departments, probably got the I's and crossing the T's, and really concerned about huge amounts of those claims not being paid for. Only paying overtime and something as well. When organisations go 12 hours on, 12 hours off, there's lots of that. Some of it is not overtime, some of it is. And it's rather complicated.
So who are we getting? Where are we going?
SES.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that we might have to head down to Sydney to try to get it all paid for by a minister. Nothing concrete yet. Either way.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the next meeting? Nothing further. Put that all those in favour. Against. Carried. Moving on to the reports of delegates. And the first of those being the ordinary meeting of the Customer and Macquarie County Council, 26th of June. One of our councils having moved that. Councillor Kinsey, you have moved it. Councillor Whiteley, Councillor Kinsey.
Yes, Mr. Neil, I wasn't at the meeting. I was unfortunately somewhere else. But I think a bit of luck the county has resolved its issues with management, as in we're going to keep Michael working and pay him a little bit more money, and we've got staff there to run the show for us, and all that's going to be happening, or the staff that's going to be happening at Walgett. Not sure why that is. I thought we're better off at Canamble. But anyhow, we're hiring an office, I believe, in Main Street of Walgett for $200 a week. That sounds pretty good, considering it's fully furnished and all the rest of it, so that's to the end of the cost on that. And the individual in there is going to be there 3 days a week. So Michael Ergert, our general manager, that's all he does now, allegedly that's all he does, he works for us. So maybe things will happen a bit more on time, etc. You know, time will tell. But why it all busted up in the first place, I have no idea. I probably won't even bother asking for support. Who knows what the answer's going to be. So that's it for me.
Brett?
Oh, yeah, I just backed that up. We unfortunately both were unavailable for the meeting. We're heading off on Monday to this monthly meeting. The staff member that's been doing the administration, the equivalent to Jody here, working 3 days a week, wanted to work for us instead of, was working for us through the Walgett Shire Council and decided to come on board. Walgett Shire Council said that they didn't have the resources to pay her for 3 days a week, that they weren't paying her. We don't know the logic of all this, but now the county council has its presence, its office in Walgett. Biggest amount of a group of their employees work at Walgett with the pair breeding thing, and Michael Ergert is going to be continue in the immediate future as the general manager with a slight pay rise.
And that pay rise, does that have any budgetary implications for medical council?
The budget for that was presented for the obviously, I'm sorry, council, it's not in the business paper, but was to budget with a surplus, and yeah, I think Council Batten from the chairman from Bill Gander has decided that it'd be better to keep Mr. Urquhart on board, and obviously his and we'll know more after.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all.
One thing was that when you look at the detailed reports, the amount of servicing and work we get done in our shire is appropriate to our area.
Councillor Kinsey.
On that note, I think that the manager will back us up on this one. There's no way in the world we can run a weeds officer with all the paraphernalia that he needs for the money that we pay county council. We're paying them about 120 or something. Well, the bloody near cost us that for motor cars and a bit of the wages. So.
And county councils are, as this council, they're under certain reporting requirements that need to be done, and there's a fair bit of legal paperwork that has to be done, no matter what we do.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the meeting of the Customer and Macquarie County Council? We'll put that. Nothing further. Put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Second report is delegates that being the ordinary meeting for the mining and energy-related councils. Someone happy to move those minutes that are there in front of you? You have any attendee to move that? No. Someone happy to move those minutes? Thank you. Councillor Kinsey, you have to move those. Second, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Kinsey, any comments on that? On the
well, we move the minutes on the basis that we might be able to get them explained to us.
Councillor Kinsey, thank you for that. I'll defer to the general manager.
Unfortunately, the three of us weren't able. So there's two councillors and myself. We weren't able to get there. Just can't get to everything that's in there. They pretty well set up their fees for the year. This this organisation probably will get more important as the amount of solar mining. It's mining and energy related. As mining goes down, I think energy is going to go up. We've only got our large solar farms, Nevertire, of course, with a small one eventually coming along, maybe. Because we're not quite in the regional energy zone, it's a little bit of a watch and brief with this organisation, but it's still relevant. But we can't get there all the time. Certainly, we tried to make, the meeting before this was in Dubbo, and I was able to get there. It's a reasonable amount of members in the state. You think of all the mining and energy related councils, there'd be really 35 to 40 members at least. It's not as valuable as country mayors, but still can be valuable to us. Watching brief though, Mr. Mayor.
I was just interested in the comments in the minutes there about, and I'll use, and I'm not sure correct, competing organisations and things. I don't know whether any you're across that, or is there something that appears to be the peak body for mining and energy related councils, then there seems to be another body or something.
It kind of relates to some of those councils that are actually getting lots of wind farms and solar farms, and so this organisation needs to make sure they continue with their relevance, and then there is not leakage to that proposed organisation that's a little bit more that way. Midwestern Regional Council is one that's, and perhaps even Dubbo Regional Council are pushing a little bit this other organisation. I have to make sure there's not this divide and conquer situation too. So hopefully they do try to make sure they maintain their relevance. The executive officer is kind of retiring, and so that may give a little bit more interest with someone new. But that's better, yeah. And this separate little organisation started that could compete with a lot of the councils that are in this organisation. And really they should be just trying to have one organisation.
That's what my reading is. Yeah. Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the mining and energy related council meeting? Councillor, thank you.
It's something that's been worrying me, but it's the, when they put up a solar plant, maybe the one at Nevertire, they're subsidised by a substantial amount. And I've actually heard rumours that it's only half of it's been utilised. And I just don't understand how all this works, that we're saying it's such a wonderful thing, and if what I just said is true about half of it being utilised, being subsidised, then it's obviously costing us a lot more money as people who use the power, because it's been subsidised. Anything subsidised by government, and we pay the taxes for that, and rattle on from there. But is what I just said true? And I don't know how you find out if it is or not. And that to me is an issue. The fact that we can't find out.
Mayor, a lot of the money that's heading towards these REZs is actually making sure the transmission lines are ready for them all. We saw maps at General Manager's Advisory Committee. That Wellington area to Mudgee is just, there's going to be so many wind farms and solar farms. It is unbelievable how many are coming to that area. So there's $3 or $4 billion worth of transmission line work. One of the reasons why we want to keep trying to be involved in both, where possible,
Councillor Kennedy, when you say it's only half being used, is half the production capacity not being used, or is the farm only operating to 50%?
Half of its capacity
is being used.
is being used.
And so,
It's
yeah.
rumours, you can't.
And it's interesting, we just probably need to be able to ask the questions, Councillor Kennedy. We'll endeavour to find out.
And if I may reply, these power lines that, like we're going to upgrade them, or we're going to build a new one. So if we're going to build a new one, on whose land is that going to go onto? And it's a fair question, isn't it? Like, we're supposed to represent individuals around here own land. So, I mean, I probably agree with Gary, it's a wonderful thing that we get, bigger and better power line. But on whose dirt are those things going to stand on? I'm not terribly sure I'd like them on my though.
Yeah, exactly. Let's take it on notice as something we just can't raise with our state local member, to see if we can get some information. In that much of this is driven by the state as opposed to the feds. So, question for Mr. Butler, the next speaker. Thank you, Councillor Kingston, for that. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the Mining and Energy Board Councillors? Nothing further, we'll put that all those in favour. Yes. Carried. Item 3 is the meeting of the Country Mayors Association. I'm happy to move that. Second, thank you, Councillor Derrick. I think it's outlined there in the minutes, but there were probably a couple of addresses that held our attention. Minister Penny Sharp, Minister for Climate Change, Energy and Environment, seems to be well on top of her portfolio, able to speak to housing issues, the environment particularly, and particularly to renewable energy and the difficulties that were being encountered in terms of actually getting renewable energy projects on the ground, in terms of wind farms. The turbines are too long to actually progress from, say, the Port of Newcastle through Musselburgh, for instance, and just the difficulties that are going to be encountered in a practical sense in getting a lot of these projects actually up and running. So we'll have to watch that space, but she was, in my view, quite articulate and well on top of her subject matter. Second time we've heard Mr. Tara Moriarty, Mr. for Agriculture and Minister of Regional Western New South Wales. She presented to the Alliance of Western Councils some months ago, soon after coming to office. Unfortunately, I don't believe she's still quite up to speed in her portfolio. Unfortunately, read a lot of her things and didn't really, in my view, appear to be right on top of stuff, and I don't know whether that's because she hadn't been briefed particularly well or where that's actually fit. And probably just a note that it was disappointing that she didn't come to the Western Division meeting in Cobar shortly after that. The third one that I thought was important was Simon Draper, the CEO of New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, in that they're tasked now with mitigation work as well as jumping in after an event, and I thought that was a refreshing way to look at things. So I think that was something that after disaster, it's all well to jump in and do stuff, but what are we doing to help mitigate, to have plans when a disaster occurs? In the broader sense, floods, fires, plagues, all those sorts of things. He seemed to be a fellow who is taking, he's only been in the job for 5 months. I think his tenure is actually 5 or 7 years, yeah. So we've got some consistency there at the very least. And yeah, I have some faith in that fellow being able to make some sensible decisions. So yeah, again, well worth attending that meeting. We're able to catch up with Dougal Sanders, our local government minister. Sorry, the former, the leader of the opposition now, local member in Dubbo, and there's Sarah Mitchell. Anyway, a number of opposition politicians were there and were able to speak with them, of course. Worthwhile going to country mayors. It's a forum. There's 80 odd councils, 84 I think, councils members of that particular organisation, and they represent what they say country mayors, which is a little bit different to local government New South Wales, where it's such a broad range and sometimes an organisation where there's competing interests that are quite different ends of the spectrum. Any questions, Councillor Bruce?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. What is land fencing all about?
Mr. Mayor, someone with a lot of money who can goes and gets their land rezoned and then just sits there and waits for appreciate. And your town's then got a lack of housing.
Yeah. Issue is land being held but not being developed.
Thank you.
And that seems to be happening. That was in the south of the state. That question came from. It pertained to the housing issue and shortage of housing.
Thank you.
Just a question, Mr. Draper. Is he a conduit that we should work on our levy and also the monies that we're having trouble getting from the last flood episode?
Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, we'll have to. We're pursuing that fairly solidly through our local state member and his advisors. It was something that we will come to. We had a meeting with Minister Honey, local government minister. It was raised with him. His advisors undertaken to continue to follow that up for us. So, Councillor Whiteley, yeah, I'm not too. Let's see how we go with those two for a start, but it's certainly not out of the ballpark that we follow up with Mr. Draper.
Is there any discussion or talk of the subject of environmental offset?
In terms of biodiversity or?
Yeah, biodiversity.
Yeah.
And only, Mr. Mayor, only from the perspective that the review of the Act is happening, and I don't know which direction the review will go now with New South Wales Labor government.
So it'll be another bureaucrat, a bit like the one we were dealing with the other day. They'll put it to the bureaucrats will put it to the government, and the government will decide the review. Who is doing the review?
The government. The relevant department of the government. It's just a 5-yearly review of an act. Not just let's fix up where most of the development in regional New South Wales is curtailed because of it.
Councillor Davies, as one of the executive members of Country Mayors, is pursuing this matter fairly solidly, and I believe it's getting some traction, but we'll have to wait to see whether that my view of getting some traction is actually translated into something worthwhile. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes of the Country Mayors meeting? Hold on, the 4th of August. Nothing further, put that, all those in favour, against, carried. Item 9 on our agenda is policy. There are no policy matters to consider. Moving on to the next reports, and those reports are those of the General Manager. Item 1, the outstanding reports checklist. Someone happy to move that outstanding reports checklist, and particularly noting that there are a number of asterisk items that will be no longer part of the business paper. Councillor Derrick, you're happy to move it? Second, and Councillor Driss. Councillor Derrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move the recommendation. I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Well, let's make the correction. General Manager.
On page 1, the bottom one is not up to the asterisk.
Regarding the airport.
Yeah. The rest of that whole page, except the second one, is asterisk. A lot of the resolutions are kind of doubled up, and that's what we're trying to get rid of. But that's the one at the bottom of page 1 is the one that needs to start.
So yes.
On to page 2, the last 4 are all asterisks for the single reason. Right at the bottom of page 3, one top of page 4, the last 2 on page 5. The last 3 on page 6. I'll say all of them on page 7. And to page 9. There's some minor asterisks in one in the middle of page 8. You see the ones that have an asterisk and ones that don't. A good example is the one on top of page 9. The second part remains because that's what's still to go. Second and third part. Chlorination system finished and commissioning in progress. Spare pumps are organised for all the sewer. The telemetry system is just getting rid of one resolution relating to the next resolution that remains. Nothing. Then there's some part ones at the bottom of page 10. A little bit, number 4 on top of page 11 on the right. Road safety plan we've just done. Most of page 13, and I'm adding in one at the bottom of page 13, an asterisk done and dusted. So, resolution 1857.23 is now complete. Approval's been given. On page 14, the improvements such as heating, cooling, the indoor court and gym area is now on improvement lists. Top of page 15, same with the shade sales at Warrenmore Memorial Swimming Pool. The top one of page 15 of 181.623 is complete. The rest is still going. Next one.
Councillor Drew.
Yeah, I just had a question. On page 8 at the bottom, the Whanama Street 1 proposed centre median automation, that's been on there since 2019. And I'm just wondering what's happening with that. It's been there for a long time.
Very much. It might be subject to funding. It was to allow access into Tire Light.
Yeah.
It was the
I
original.
understand that, just
Yeah.
wondering.
So I might defer to major engineering services, maybe an update.
Mr. Mayor, that's falling down the pecking order at the moment, but we'll get to it.
Right, yeah.
Now, it's a real quandary, because otherwise put a hole in the nice green grass and down to median strip, or once in a blue moon, the vehicle goes slightly the wrong way, or actually goes along and turns around. Or if it's a road train, they actually come in their back way, which Transport for New South Wales don't want.
I understand that, but I'm just saying it's been on there for a long, long time. Yeah. Anyway, just a question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted. Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
I just had a question. If, and it's just a question of procedure really, if something is removed from that list and it doesn't appear on another list, how then does council actually get to ask a question about it or monitor? Example, the mobile phone, internet coverage issues. If that doesn't appear anywhere else, how do we then ask a question? Is there any progress with that, or what's happening with that?
Entirely up to the council if they want to leave it there. It's a problem. It's a request of council that council can't do anything about, because we don't provide funds towards improved telecommunication facilities. Both the mayor and I annoy Telstra particularly all the time. There is a limit. You can leave it there if you want to, but entirely up to the council, Mr. Mayor, because it's been there since, in fact, I reckon earlier than 21. Probably in Councillor Kinsey's time before his semi-retirement for a while. Never thought been the problem. And because it's really not just Nevertire, we're actually 50% of Warren Shire. There's a limit.
Councillor Kinsey.
Well, if I may, Mr. General Manager, I'd probably suggest that if we take these things off the list, especially with Telstra involved, then we're getting into them. And we probably shouldn't get into Telstra, because we should be a sword in there. We should be a bloody thorn in their saddle, really.
They're not removed, because I've actually taken an asterisk off myself and added another asterisk because it was finished. No problem, we won't remove it.
Thank you. Councillor Derrick.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just on that, I'm happy that we're not going to remove it. Appreciating there's no other action that can be taken, it's still outstanding. I guess all the other things that we are removing have been resolved or finalised.
Or put to lists.
Yeah, or rolled into another action. So,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. It's moved and second. Happy to just have that matter asterisk
Yes.
removed, so it stays on the list, and then there's another matter the gentleman has added with an asterisk, which it'll be noted in the minutes.
The one at the bottom of page 1, I've actually removed the asterisk, so it stays there, and the one at the bottom of page 13 I've asterisked, because in between time it's approvals given, done and dusted, and not, it's my fault, I should have asterisked it.
So it's moved and second. Happy with those minor amendments to the outstanding reports checklist. Yeah. Any further comments, questions regarding item 1, the general manager's report? Outstanding report, the checklist, outstanding reports checklist. No. Being nothing further, put that all those in favour, against, carried. Moving on to item 2, report from the general manager, and in recognition, while being a healthy town and good awareness of the healthy lifestyle, council will be standing while going with item 2 of the general manager's report. Someone happy to move item 2 of the general manager's report, being committee meetings? Councillor Drews, sorry, you have to move. Councillor Jackson, second. Councillor Drews.
Happy to move it, I've got no comments and questions on it, thank you.
Comments? Oh, sorry, Councillor Kinsey.
Yeah, Castle Way has a meeting in Canberra on the 28th, Monday the 28th.
Monday.
Yeah,
Monday.
yeah,
Thank you.
this month.
This month, yeah, admin. Thank you. So, sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to mention about the Environment Boardwalk Information Day that was on Tuesday. So it was good turnout. A few couldn't make it last minute, but representatives from Canberra Shire Council, Bergen Shire Council, RDA Arana, Willie Retreat, which is obviously just nearby. Not sure if I'm forgetting anyone else. A few of our volunteers. A few about, so outside the Destination Macquarie Marshes Task Force, those were the attendees, but the Destination Macquarie Marshes Task Force was represented, so the General Manager, Economic Development Visitation Manager and myself from Council. Really Smart was represented by Fiona Cornelius, and the 3 representatives from the Macquarie Wetlands Association. So it was a well-run day, and thank you very much to our Economic Development and Visitation Manager who put together all the handouts, and General Manager for sorting the bags that we were able to give to people on the day. So I think it was, well received initiative, and more to come on that. Thank you, and feel free to have a look at these in the
Thank you, Councillor Derrick. Any further comments, questions regarding item 2 of the General Manager's report? Any delegates meeting? Nothing further, we'll put that all those in favour. Yes, carried. Item 3 of the reports of the General Manager being the Works Progress Report pertaining to infrastructure projects. Councillor, come on to move the recommendation there. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Happy to move. Second. Councillor White, Councillor Jackson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I commend these minutes and ask that the executive team of council give any updates they think are pertinent.
Again, we're just attempting to try to tidy up these reports to will be informative, but to reduce a reasonable amount of the history, to know, but really for people to know what's, councillors to know, and people to read these reports, what is happening in the future and when, or how much is still to go. We're also attempting to try to make sure that both in all our progress reports, as many of our major programs or projects are there, so councillors know what is happening over the next 12 months or so around Shire within the budget. Most budgets are of no concern in actually all progress reports, and what lots of little things will start to finish very soon, that will be pleasing.
Yes, we're seeing a finishing line for a lot of these projects, which is gratifying. There are a number of asterisk items there, so councillors
That's only kind of for our, just so you know, it'll be, the information will be gone.
Next time, yeah. Okay, so we don't need to consider that so much, it's just, information setting over, yeah. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a small comment around tidying up these reports, is that I think we need to be cognizant not to call, let's say Carter Oval, for example, we call it soccer storage, cricket storage, then we say little A's. I think we should not say little A's, we should say athletics, because there's other users other than little A's may use the athletic facilities. It's a small thing, but it does sometimes get noticed by anyone who cares to read some of these documents. It's actually not little A's. The athletic area is not little A's, it is athletics. Little A's might be a user, but that's like saying the rugby facilities are the Pumas. No, they're not, they're rugby facilities used by a variety of rugby organisations. That's just something I wanted to mention because it has been mentioned to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the works progress reports for the infrastructure projects? Councillor Kinsey.
All right. It's good to see some of the access out there, isn't it? Things are getting done.
Getting done.
Yeah. Thank you.
And my understanding is the site works have taken place, as Councillor McCloskey's informed us, in terms of the Carter Oval amenities building, that's back on track to get addressed and finalised. So that's gratifying. It's another item that will come to a conclusion in time. Any further comments, questions regarding the work progress reports, infrastructure projects? And further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 4 of the report of the General Manager, the 2023 Western Divisional Council's New South Wales Annual General Meeting and their attendance at that meeting. There's a, do you want him to speak to that? Oh, well, so we need a mover. I'm happy to move that. Second, Councillor Derrick. General Manager, do you want to speak to that? And we can. It
was still a very worthwhile meeting to go to, but we wish that there were more New South Wales government ministers there. The highlight was at least 2 hours that the Minister for Local Government gave us. And the second highlight, without mentioning this, that he felt that the councils that he'd actually met with the day before, which is one of us, was the type of council that he wants to see how councils should be going on, providing a little bit of surplus and trying to do as much for their community. He'd certainly done a lot of research on almost every council that came along. Mr. Local Government was very forthright with his thoughts on the red flag. We decided not to argue that point. We'll let others argue that point, which they did. And very a good listener of some of the items that we needed some help with. Senior government officers presented some good reports. In fact, one that would be very surprising was from the energy dipping area, which was we certainly received it well, because we are trying within reason. We're using grants to getting solar on our roofs and eventually some electric car facilities. But that was a surprising presentation. It was good. Mr. Mayor, apologies. I actually have. I'll send it around, but I actually have a copy of all the presentations that was sent in. Just so councillors can quickly have a look in the next hour or so. That's about my comments.
Yeah. So just to further, some of the manager was speaking about a couple of issues, basically, not issues, a couple of further comments. The minister was pleased to see councils living within their means, is what he was basically suggesting, and that some councils certainly aren't doing that. And the idea that you build more infrastructure and then you've got to maintain it, and then your budget runs into strife because you highlighted the example of one council with 4 or 5 museums and wanting to build another one sort of situation. And that sort of stuff that just doesn't sit so well. It's not our core business for a start, but the fact that we were living within our means was something that he was pretty pleased about. The second thing, as pertains to the red fleet, as you know, we are required by the accounting standards, according to the auditor, to recognise the depreciation on those assets. We supposedly follow those. The minister's view was that essentially, in the past, we as a council responsible for looking after the safety of our communities to an extent. We have divested responsibility for firefighting in the rural sense to the Rural Fire Service. Therefore, we are actually the body, in a broad sense, we're the overseeing body, and we've divested that part of our responsibility to the Rural Fire Service, and therefore we are the overarching body that's responsible. That was his argument, and he quoted a number of regulations that I've neglected to recall, but so we chose purposely not to pursue that one because he was fairly definite in his view, and they'd done a fair bit of research. Councillor Derrick might have a further comment on that one. So we left that alone, but asked for help from the various areas that and I think that they're listed here in each of the reforms, the items that we want to raise with the Minister for Local Government. And he's certainly offered his front door for us to be able to knock on and say if we needed help with something. So that was gratifying. I think we left on, well, we started on good terms, we left on good terms. We weren't combative. We were just saying that we might need some help one day. We do, and he said yes, of course. So that was good. I might, Councillor Derrick, is there anything else you would want to add to the?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Mayor. No, I guess just on the red fleet issue, certainly wasn't what we wanted to hear or any of the other councils wanted to hear. The Minister did say that he was yet to come to a final decision, but he'd certainly done a lot of background work and was well versed on his opinions thus far. So I think we would be very surprised if there was no doubt based from the way he was thinking at the moment. But yes, it did. I said it wasn't what we wanted to hear, but it did actually make sense in the way he explained it. So that is what it is. And yes, as far as the event, definitely well worth attending, some excellent presentations, and as we've noted, just regrettable that more ministers weren't available this year.
There's a chance we'll get an invite to the midterm meeting as well, and the council, if we find that they're available, that it's that there's a chance it might time it better where some more Commonwealth and state ministers might be able to attend the midterm meeting. So there's a chance that we may try to get to them too. Even though we're not members, we help make up the numbers to actually make it one truly worthwhile mini conference, and hopefully those numbers then attract ministers and opposition spokesmen to come to just and just continue to get better and better.
Thank you, councillor Bruce. Question.
Just, I see that you caught up with, Mark Spittle, so any come out of that discussion?
So he's got his visa problems to try to get people in as well. I know there were comments about the percentage of staff that are missing in the Western Health District, and that's horrendous. We worry about advertising for 12 or 15 positions here. And some places I've heard of supposed to have like 18 staff and they've got 5.
So the issue that the general manager is speaking of in terms of visas, Mr. Spittle indicated that he had a number of, and I think the number was around 70. Do you remember the number of his total? Anyway, I might stand corrected.
Outside Australia.
Said to come in, but visa requirements are holding that process up. And so the Alliance of the Western Divisional Council, I think, taking that on board, and then we're going to just try and expedite. I mean, there's support to expedite that process to bring the other things forward.
Yeah.
As I did have a conversation with Mark Spittle and spoke to him about Damien Lindberger and CSU's proposal to have GP training embedded in a place like Warren. And so the idea's certainly been flagged with Mark Spittle that the 3 organisations, that being Council, CSU and Western Local Health, work together to facilitate that actually happening. So we'll progress that matter. Whenever we have the opportunity, it's one of those things we just need to be working on.
Thank you, that's good to hear. We're supporting it.
That's any further comments, questions regarding Western Division Council's meeting conference? Nothing further. We'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving to the reports of the Division Manager of Finance Administration. First of those being the reconciliation certificate. Someone have to move the reconciliation certificate. Councillor Jackson will be moved. Second. Councillor Whiteley. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move this be accepted as correct, and that the Division Manager of Finance provides any commentary he feels pertinent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a follow-up item, as it was voiced to change in the value month on month for the trust fund, I've actually looked into that a bit more extensively, and it seems to be where it relates to unclaimed funds, is what it's referenced as. So basically, we receive funds in any way, shape or form, and we aren't able to identify either who's paid the money exactly, or more particularly what they've paid us the money for. So I knew that there's some measure of grant fund item in there, which was that large $90,000 in previous months. And I've gone back and picked out the paperwork and contacted them, and I still haven't got any other specific detail from them as to what that payment related to for me to take it out of this. But that's what that general increase has been over time, is related to those monies that we can't identify. That's one particular thing mentioned. Otherwise, I guess more appropriate now in the transition to the CBA, and I guess move with the relationship and use of NAB. I still haven't been able to get term deposit authorisation approval out of them. It's becoming more difficult. But I'm starting to look around and revisiting Council's investment policy, and basically we look to make the most of Council's investment funds, and if now there's still the most attractive rates and whatnot, we'll continue to use them. But you'll see a bit more movement in that investment space from now. I think that's about all I can comment on for Council at this stage. Thank you. Well, sorry, the second item that we'll get to.
We'll get to the statement of rates and charges in a second. We'll just invite any further comments, questions on item 1 of the Divisional Manager Finance Administration report, the reconciliation certificate. Anything further, councillors? Nothing further, put that all those in favour, against, carried. Moving on to item 2, statement of rates and annual charges, against, move that. Councillor Drews, second, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Drews.
Yes, I'm moving that and pass it over to the manager of finance to have a chat about that one.
What's happened there? Yes.
Thank you. Councillor. Just in brief, we've had since the end of financial year rollover, striking new rates, relevant to our water billing module as well. Somehow we've managed to encounter a lot of problems with the software package provided, Practical Plus from Civica, and they're still working on it. They've actually moved it from their support staff to their development team. In the past couple of weeks, we've been really pushing them to find a resolve for us. So we are getting good traction there and things are improving. As you can see, at this point, I'm unable to give you that normal report on rates collection. For that reason, we just don't have the system up to spec where we can draw the information out for this report. So hopefully by the next month's report, we can update on 2 items. Is there reference to council?
Have you got a time frame, do you think, for being able to have this rectified, so you're ready to go, or what are your thoughts?
Initially, the advice we received from the Practical Plus support and development team is that we're going to have it rectified 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
So I'm literally emailing them and badgering them and putting light on almost every day. So at this point, as of yesterday, they've resolved a lot of it and they've been able to now go and update all our receipting and all that sort of thing. But we're still having trouble getting information out of there for various reports. So it's, I don't really have any today, but I'm pushing for as soon as possible.
Thank you.
I suspect that it will be well and truly in time for the next monthly cycle of reports, though, for sure. If it's not, that will be a bit outrageous.
So is it impacting payment of wages and those sorts of things as well, or is it, how's it
Just
day-to-day operations? Sorry.
Purely related to rates, water billing module. Doesn't affect anything else. So technically, it was, for some reason, it wasn't posting rates receipts off the given individual ratepayer's card. And then as a consequence, we couldn't work out who paid what. We can't report on what's collected, what isn't, which would have skewed that report. Other things like it wasn't sending out electronic rate notices to people. And just bringing over information. So when we're trying to produce Section 603 certificates, which is as at a certain date and time, how much money has been raised and what's owing for the purpose of sale of the property, we haven't been able to populate that information until yesterday. And there's still a few odd ratepayers that we're coming across where the information just isn't showing where we need it. So they're consistently working to fix that up.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? Division Manager of Finance Administration. Nothing further, we'll put that all those in favour. Yes, carried. Moving on to item 3, Division Manager of Finance Administration reports, works progress reports in that space. Someone have to move the recommendation then. Councillor Jackson, second. Councillor Kinsey, Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just wondering if the Manager of Divisional Finance Services has anything that he wants to comment on.
The councillors of note, councillors familiar with the works happening at the library, so it's good that's continuing and we'll continue from here. There has been an increase in the budget for the office equipment purchases, investigations around electronic records management system and other items for implementation. So just a note to say that that is a large increase from the prior year's budget. Doesn't all relate to buying more equipment. It's related to just the electronic records management system and starting the ICT strategic action plan, and moving forward we'll see some positives from that Thank you.
Councillor
So I just had a question regarding what you call ICT. It says finance plan, and information communication technology. Is that, regardless of role incumbent, always wrapped up into the same role? Or do you bolt that together because the role incumbent has the skill set?
Yes, Mayor. From what I understand in the change of positions here over time, it was inherently wrapped up in that role and it then was more formally recognised, so it complemented both the organisational need and at the time, definitely the incumbent comes from more so a stronger ICT background than what they do finance. So, from what I gather, was the need and the appropriate measure at the time. So, there are always limitations, I guess, in the absence of having a dedicated finance side of it, or a dedicated separate, you'd be creating another position. So, something that can be reviewed later on, I guess, but that's the case at present.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding item 3, Additional Management Finance Administration's report? Nothing further, put that all those in favour. It's carried. Item 4, some of the financial assistance grants for 23-24. Someone happy to move the recommendation that the information received and noted. Councillor Jackson, have to move. Second, Councillor Kinsey. Councillor Jackson.
I move just, as you say, that it be received and noted. Any comments pertinent?
I guess the question is, to you, what impact the relevant balance there is the untied and then the roads component of the federal assistance grants. How we're seeing that? They're a bit different to what our budget was. Is there a comment perhaps on how you see that panning out for us?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor. The report section, page 7, has a bit of a snapshot between the components, the general and the road components. And this comparative is, at this stage, it's still only an estimate from the OLG, but I think it's fairly close. I'm not sure they'll give us any more money. They certainly can't take it away. So when comparing that to our estimates, our budgeted estimates, we end up with that increase of $142,212, which is obviously a betterment to Council's overall budgeted financial position. All else being equal and no change, that is essentially Council having more money than what they thought initially, which is good.
Not spent yet.
It's not allocated to anything. It was pointed or going to the coffers.
And so how does that compare with our PAGS grants 12 months ago? You know, it is an increase of above this, what I'm getting at is 3.7 was our rate pegging amount. Are we, is this assistance keeping pace with that at the very least?
From what I understand and my experience, it's been a challenge to try and estimate and work through the given methodology and calculation that goes forward onto how they measure this financial assistance grant. It does cover a lot. There's been a bit of a redistribution and where they're addressing who gets what out of their whole bucket of funds. I could certainly go back and look at the relevant increases year on year.
Just a comparison from last year to this year. Are we keeping pace?
It's much more. We only worked on about a 3% increase, and it's bigger than 3%. So just to say 1 million. Councillors, have a look at page 7. The year before was for the roads component was 1,044,000, and it's gone to 1.35. The year before for the, I'll call it the general, was 2,532,000, and it went and we thought the 3% would get us to 2.608, but it just went backwards slightly to 252. In the end, it's just into the budget, and we don't say let's go and try to spend 300,000 extra on roads and 160,000 less somewhere else. It's kind of it's all, and we're not. Don't forget, we've got many more millions of dollars worth happening on our roads.
Oh, exactly. No, it's not bad news, but it's. But
I think the other aspect of it is if there's any increase in or change in what's sealed and unsealed in roads, whatever lengths and so forth, that's a report separately forms part of all that calculation.
Okay.
We are having an increase in this.
Yes, so that is part of the redistribution that they're sort of approaching how that funding rolls out as well. So, it's close as I can get for.
Thank you. We're all hoping that in the end, this financial assistance grant, for example, to the $650 million city council, that still gets $10 million with the financial assistance grant. They can't spend the $650 million. But they're getting $10 million with the financial assistance to Sydney City Council. Double Dutch, isn't it?
Mr. Honig was part of our conversation with him. So the federal government moves this funding to the state government, the state government then distribute it.
Under a very complicated
Formula, exactly. Part of the formula in the general component of it is population based, and hence the comment the general manager made about Sydney City Council. Mr. Honig, from my understanding, and I'll stand correctly, Councillor Derriton, has at his discretion the ability to vary it by about 5%. So he very much took on board the comment that's been made about the city councils of the world, and he's at least investigating the possibility of changing that formula, or using his discretion to change the amount of money that councils like ours might receive as opposed to councils like the Sydney City. So very much in the consideration phase, and we can't hang our hats on anything happening, but he's certainly very aware of that situation. Is that right? Was you correct there?
Yeah, no, I think he definitely seemed sympathetic to types of councils. So.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the summary of the financial assistance grants? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Carried. Item 4. Item 4, we covered that. Item 5, the financial report for the year ending 30th of June. You'll note the 3 recommendations there. Someone happy to move the recommendations? Councillor Bruce, Councillor Whiteley. Councillor Bruce.
Just moving the recommendation, thank you. Pretty straightforward.
This will all happen in due course. Time frame not exactly finalised yet, but we'll be working towards it. Your point, Division Manager, Finance Administration, or are you just?
Yeah, I've included in the report the week commencing the 25th of September is when the audit will be undertaken, and it's hard to say when that might be totally finalised. Submission due date, and have these completed is the end of October. So at this stage, that's when we're headed.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding item 5? Financial report for the year ending 30th of June 2023. Nothing further, put that all those in favour? Yes, carried. Moving on to the reports of the Divisional Manager of Engineering Services. The first one, the works progress report pertaining to roads. Someone happy to move recommendation there, being information received and noted. Thank you, Councillor Whiteley is moved. Second, Councillor Derrick. Councillor Whiteley.
We covered most of this in the roads report. For those that were interested, but I'd invite the visual manager to comment on any of this document he's presented to us.
You have a comment on?
This is just for your information, councillors, we are coming up with an overall roads program that will take into account flood damage works, grant programs, and also works on the highway, that's RMCC. So we are looking to prioritize flood damage works and grant programs because they're time bound, and we have less priority on maintenance. So we'll be more reactive than proactive in maintenance because we have a large volume of work that's time bound. So most of the maintenance will be covered in flood damage anyway. So we have routine maintenance, but we aiming to complete the programs that are time bound. That's the flood damage and grant programs. Yeah.
Thank you. Any comments, questions regarding item 1 of the Division Manager and Human Services report pertaining to roads? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 2, the Manager and Human Services report pertaining to town services. Works progress report. I'm happy to move that information you received and noted. Councillor Jackson, happy to move. Second. Councillor Kinsey. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just moving information be received and noted and identified with the manager to make comments where he has been pertinent.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick update. We had representatives of DPI who visited us to look at the groundwater augmentation project that they're funding, and they are quite happy with the progress. Yeah, the project is due to be commissioned hopefully next month.
And what projects specifically did you look at there? And did you took them for a tour and etc. Or
yes, it will for tour. It's with both the groundwater augmentation.
Yeah. Any further comments, questions regarding item 2? Mr. White.
Mayor, did I see that the river pump was redone last week?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, it's still ongoing, but the critical component of it has been completed. That is the casings, the pump casings. So the next components are of fabrication of pipe work to go into the pumps, and also the civil works, that's the concrete works. So those two have been lined up, and we expect to complete in due course.
And that's at Oxley and Ellenjo or Oxley?
That was not
Oxley, done.
Following on from that is they took advantage of the low river. The cleaning of the tower, is that on the program before summer?
Yeah, we are making plans for that.
Any further comments, questions regarding the town services report? Nothing further, put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 3, works progress report pertaining to the plant and workshop. Then someone happy to move the information to receive and noted. Councillor Jackson. Second, Councillor Whiteley. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just move that it be received and noted, and again, anything that the division manager or general manager would like to draw our attention to in this report.
Mr. Mayor, no further comment from me.
No. Thank you. Councillor Drew, sorry.
Mayor, just a question, page 41, the excavator, is that physically two cats, animals?
Only the use unfortunately, yes.
Councillor, you apology last, Councillor?
Yeah. The general manager might enlighten you as to, yes, I take it on board, it's a very odd thing to have in your
Yes.
report, but you can be enlightened, the general manager will enlighten you.
Thank you.
Rather pleasant, unpleasantly enlightening, sadly. Exactly that. Our operators gone and started up the excavator, and our beautiful warm engine has attracted two cats, and there was one hell of a big noise, and we thought, holy, because as he started, he might have moved it a little bit. We thought, I've run into my back home. No, it's out. I'm so far away. Another man who was putting some rubbish into the tip face looked too, because there was this hell of a noise. Nothing. Started her up again. Same noise. Turned it off. Opened it up, and the cats had kind of gone through the fans, destroyed the fan, and through the radiator. So no damage to the engine, but it has happened to a truck some years ago at the depot as well. Same reason, beautiful, warm.
Thank you.
So, there you are, Councillor Bruce.
Very unusual thing to see.
Yes, it's really back, it's back, I've forgotten, it's back together, is it not? But
Yeah.
Back operating.
Mr. Mayor, worthwhile having a look at the tip. One, you could do one just with a D10 for a couple of days.
Yeah, that's pretty tidy out there. No.
Thank you.
Any further comments, questions regarding item 3, the works program report pertaining to the fleet and the workshop? Nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the reports of the Manager of Health and Development Services. First of those being the development applications, of which there were nil. So we just need to note that information. Someone is happy to move that for tidiness. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Second. Councillor Bruce, thank you. Nothing to be discussed there, I will report. Put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Second item, Manager of Health and Development, Works Progress Report. Again, someone happy to move the information received and noted. Councillor Whiteley, Councillor Jackson, Councillor Whiteley.
I recommend the report to you and ask the relevant officer if there's any comments you would like to make.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, unless I pose any questions.
I just a question regarding the LEP review. When is that due, and where are we in terms of timetable? We've got an external consultant. Is that the person who has previously done our LEPs or not?
No, it's not. So yeah, it's on my to-do list. It's in the pile to do.
And so, when's the next LEP actually due to be adopted by council? Do you know?
I don't know offhand, sorry.
This year.
It is this year, yes.
Kind of funding in 22-23, just sneaking into now 23-24.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is we as council will need a chance to review that as well, plenty of time is what I'm suggesting. And so, can we have a bit of an update at the next council meeting, just a time frame about when we might be able to get into that one, and just know the actual dates so that we're quite clear, because that's quite an important document that we need to be right on top of otherwise.
And manager, what you're doing at the moment is you've asked for comments from the public of their thoughts about rezoning of properties around to add to the review process.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding item 2 of the Major Health and Development Services report? Nothing further, we'll put that all over in favour. Against, carried. Item 3, the One Youth Foundation Wide Youth Support Group Annual General Meeting, the minutes from that meeting. Someone, again, the councillor to move the information said no. Thank you, Councillor Jackson, you're moving that. Second. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, first of all, you're commending the work of the Warren Youth Foundation and Warren Support Group. I noticed the comments there that we are, partnering quite closely with them on initiatives that they're doing, which I take to mean that we provide funding as they apply for it and supporting in-kind contributions such as access to premises or facilities. And I'm also aware that in between the time of this AGM and now it's obviously been a key stakeholder in that, and the founder, in fact, of that organisation is no longer with us. I just wanted to know if you're aware that the organisation itself is already transitioning that process, or is that still something that's to be done, and is that a risk to council with funding provided to them already or promised to them already, and in particular significant funding for their counselling projects? And second of all, when it comes to acquittals for something like that, how much do we require in terms of not just they delivered a program, but the effectiveness of that program? Do we expect to receive that in our acquittals?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So there was discussion at the meeting about how the organisation isn't financially sustainable. There was discussion about looking for commercial investors or sponsorship. So that they're looking at that. So that there's some sustainability to their organisation. In relation to the targeted early intervention funding, under our service agreement, we have to be satisfied the money has been spent. There's no necessarily any quality control in relation to that. Yeah.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding item 3, Major Health and Development Services report, and the One Youth Foundation and Support Group? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour, against, carried. We have no summation or questions with notice. I'm not aware of item 11 on our agenda of any matters of urgency, and if the councillor has something that needs to be raised in that space. Being the case, we'll move on to the councillor. You have to continue and move with this confidential matter. How are we going? We've got the flow. Yes, keep going. Continue. Thank you. In which case, we'll move on to the item called the confidential matter. And we need a number of Thanks, Andy. Thank you. We need a resolution to proceed in the committee of the whole, closed council, to consider the matters listed on the manager, general manager, I'm not reading it twice. General manager's report and any other matters which a separate resolution has been carried in this meeting. And number 2, I'm going to ask Mover and Seconder to do both these together. And then a resolution to exclude the press and public from the committee of the whole closed council for the reasons stated in the motion referrals. So Councillor Jackson, you're happy to move that, and so Councillor Bruce, you're seconding. Thank you. We'll put that, all those in favour, against. Normal council meeting. Thank you, councillors. We've resumed our normal council meeting after consideration of a matter in the whole closed council. I'd ask the councillors who moved the recommendation within the committee of the whole closed council, if they're happy to move that recommendation now in normal council. Those two movers and second were Councillor Jackson and Councillor Whiteley. Happy to move likewise in council.
And from there on, so the recommendations in accordance with provisions of clause 978(1)(a) of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 of the Local Government Act 1993, the tender submitted by Precinct Commercial Private Limited in the recommended tender amount of $169,035, including GST, be accepted for contract number C1377, separately portion 1 for the library lobby area upgrade works, Warren, New South Wales. And 2, council authorised to affix the seal of council to contract C1377 for separately portion 1 for the library lobby area upgrade works, Warren, New South Wales. 3, in accordance with provisions of clause 178(1)(b) of the Local Government General Regulation and the Local Government Act, council resolves to decline to accept any of the tenders for contract number C1377 separately portion 2 for the landscaping works, Warren, New South Wales. In accordance with provisions of 178(3)(e) of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 of the Local Government Act 1993, council entered into negotiations with Precinct Commercial Private Limited with tender for separate portion 1 to carry out the required extension of landscaping works on a piece-by-piece basis as a variation to SP separate portion 1 contract. After full and thorough rescoping the landscaping works to bring the whole of the project within budget and grant funding. And 5, with final rescope landscaping design be presented to the Town Improvement Committee for concurrence prior to its implementation, and the General Manager be authorised to finalise and set the renegotiated final price for the rescope work under contract C1377 separate portion 2 for landscape works, Warren, New South Wales.
Thank you for that. Any further comments, questions regarding recommendation? Nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour. Carried. That brings our meeting to a conclusion. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance and input.